Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Mindset Monday. My name is Sally Garozzo, and this is the place to be to get inspiration and motivation on how to be happier and more fulfilled in your life. So today's session is called Stop Controlling and Start Creating. So this is for you if you are a perpetual worrier, if you worry all the time, if you procrastinate on your business, on your social life, on certain projects because you just don't know how they're going to turn out. This is for you if your relationships are being affected by over-controlling. And this is you if you're stressed and burnt out. This is for you, if you get stressed and burnt out because you are not delegating. So please do grab a notebook, grab a pen, and let's dive into this issue of controlling. So I am going to hold my hands up and I'm going to say that this is definitely an area that I have struggled with. I am way more flexible now than I used to be, but it wasn't until my dad said to me once, "I think you're a bit of a control freak." I remember being at a funeral and I wanted some people that were over there to kind of come and join us over here because I was worried that they would feel left out. And my dad was like, "Just relax, like you're a bit of a control freak, aren't you?" And I had started my therapy journey and I was like, oh shit, maybe I am. Maybe I do have control issues. And so I really started diving into this idea and this subject, and can definitely see in my own practice with my own clients where control issues crop up and pop up. And I've definitely seen that in my own life as well. So before we fix our control issues, obviously we need to look at what they are, then look at where they've come from, and then look at how we can dissolve them, change them, or just notice when they crop up and not be so hard on ourselves. Just notice that internal feeling of what it feels like to try to be in control, why we're doing it, why we feel particularly unsafe, and all those sorts of things. So let's have a look at some of the reasons why people control. And these are very general. You're going to have your own specific one. So I urge you to look at your own life. So maybe you try to control the way people feel. Maybe it's important to you that everybody feels safe, secure, happy, and comfortable. And of course, there's good reason for that. We want people to feel nice around us. But when it starts affecting your own stress levels and your own ability to relax, then it might be you have a problem. So is it that when people come over to your house and do you start fussing when people come over to your house? Do you start offering them teas, cakes, biscuits? Do you start making sure they've got the Wi-Fi code before they've asked for it? Do you make sure they know where the toilet is before they've asked for it? Are you that kind of person who really sort of fusses over people? And along these similar lines, do you sort of fail to host parties because you're worried that you're not going to be able to please everybody, that it's just going to be so stressful trying to get around everybody? Maybe you're a perfectionist and you just want everything to be so perfect that it's just unfathomable to do that for everybody. I know that control and perfectionism do tend to go hand in hand. But maybe you're missing out because you're not having like the social life that you need because you're so worried about saying the right thing or doing the right thing or having everything set out perfectly. Another area people try to control is in making arrangements. People try to control the times, where they're going to stop, the mode of transport, where they're going to sleep, who they're going to sleep with, have they got a bathroom, is it an ensuite, where's the local restaurant, where's the local pub. All of these sort of variables can make people feel very uncomfortable or feel like they need to control all of the variables before they've actually got there. And there's something magical about just letting things unfold step by step rather than having things pre-planned to within an inch of their life. So that's something that I actually learned from comedy improv, is that we work in a team. There's a framework, but you never really know what you're going to build until one person brings an element, and then another person brings an element, and then another person brings an element. So you've got all these elements that eventually go to build this rather nice scene, or these characters or whatever. And I've learned so much from that, actually, that you literally just put one foot in front of the other rather than having to have everything fixed and sorted out first. But I've digressed slightly. So other ways we control. Another way we control the way people feel is by changing our own values and opinions to be agreeable with others, even if it rubs you up the wrong way, or even if it's not actually your core value. I remember going out for dinner once with some vegans, and it didn't really matter to them that they were upsetting the apple cart. It was more important to them to stay in line with their values, so to be in charge of themselves, rather than try to control the happiness of everyone on their table, if you know what I mean. And I thought that was really, really admirable. Do you worry that you're not going to be able to control situations or circumstances in relation to some of the things you want to do in your life? So some people really hold themselves back from pursuing relationships or business ideas or social things because they're worried about feeling out of control. They might say things like, how will I cope if I fall in love with somebody and then I get hurt? Or how will I cope if I am successful? I'm not sure if I can cope with accountants, solicitors, employing people, or public speaking, because believe me, when you're public speaking, you're in control, but you're also very out of control as well. And that feeling of being out of control is very unfamiliar and very uncomfortable for some people. How will I cope if I go somewhere but I actually don't enjoy it and I just want to come home? So what happens is, in this situational controlling, there's a lack of believing that you can cope or that others will help you. And that really is a lack belief that you can cope, because you can cope and others can help you. It's just that you believe that you can't somewhere along the line. Or is it that you're trying to control your partner? Now, this can be a big one. I see this quite a lot in my RTT practice. Are you trying to make your partner better, okay, so that they make you happy? Do you want him or her to be cleaner? Do you want them to run the house your way? Do you want them to communicate in a way that you prefer? Do you want to try to limit their social media? Do you want to try to make them only see people who you like? Or do you try to control the way that they feel by buying them lots and lots of gifts that they haven't actually asked for? So look at this. Whenever you try to control anything or anyone, what you do is you shut the energy down. You shut down possibilities, you shut down the flow of energy, you shut down creativity, you shut down opportunities, you shut down these possibilities, and ultimately you shut down your heart, your health, and your vitality. I don't mean your physical heart, although it can eventually manifest in the physical body, but you can shut down your love muscle and your appreciation muscle as well. So there are many different ways that we try to control, and I really want you to think about how you try to control in your week, in the next week coming up, and jot it down on your phone. Now, I don't want you to be too hard on yourself here, because I want you to learn to differentiate between this idea of being controlling and being in charge. Okay, so when you're controlling, you're trying to affect other people and circumstances around you by manipulating. But when you are being in charge, you're taking responsibility for your own energy and the things that you've got to do in a kind and loving and supportive way, which brings you peace. Okay, so there is a difference, and often the difference can be very subtle, but I'm going to give you some examples here. So things like creating a great bedtime routine for yourself is not controlling, it's being in charge of yourself. Asking for a specific type of food or specific type of meal in a restaurant is definitely not controlling. It's being in charge of yourself. It's being in charge of what you need for you. And scheduling your diary. So having everything scheduled in your diary is not controlling. It's being in charge of yourself, your time, your destiny, as long as you've scheduled in some relaxation time and some social time as well. But things like, demanding that your partner get out of bed so that you can wash the sheets is really controlling. That's not being in charge, because being in charge would be leaving a nice little note for your partner to say that when he or she gets up, can they strip the bed, bung it in the machine, and maybe you'll finish it off when you get home or something like that. So another example is going over business details or going over any kind of detail to within an inch of their life without asking for help, without consulting an expert. Maybe you're trying to take on too much responsibility. Maybe you don't believe that somebody else can help you. Maybe you're not trusting that somebody else better qualified could actually help you. Maybe you feel you've got to do it all in order to be a perfect human being. And, I've definitely experienced this. I certainly didn't want anyone to help me with inspiring talks, but I've learned a huge lesson now. I've handed it over and I've seen how somebody else has really taken it and run with it and made it their own and is selling loads of tickets. So that's just fantastic. And I've definitely learned a big lesson from that. Definitely need to delegate more. So sometimes we control because we have no trust in others to do the job as well as us. But what we need to do here is be in charge of our relationship to the person that's helping us, not by controlling them, but by teaching them or guiding them in a loving way. And often people who control find delegation really hard. But really, in order to be in control of the way that you feel, you definitely have to let go of some of the control so that you can start giving yourself breathing space. And ultimately, what we are looking for is a balance. It's a dance between ease and flow, letting go, going with the flow, and this sort of structure and control that's going to sort of keep everything nicely together. But the trouble is, most of us are way more dominant in structure and control rather than ease and flow. And, probably a lot to do with our society, but also to do with the way that we were brought up. And I'm going to get to that in a minute. So, control issues manifest in many different ways. They manifest in perpetual worrying. If you worry consistently, you're going to end up with headaches, muscle tightness, anxiety, depression. Maybe you have a bit of OCD. Maybe you want everything to be clean and perfect in your home and you can't have a hair out of place. Maybe your control comes in the form of wanting to look perfect all of the time. Maybe there's a bit of body dysmorphia going on. Or maybe you're trying to control everything that you eat, which translates, of course, into anorexia. But some women, yes, I'm going to say that, some women try to control their husbands or their partners. And the term henpecking, which I came across when I lived up north, it's a real thing. Some women really do peck their men, and that is why they go into a cave and they retreat from the world. Anybody would. You would. If you were being pecked by somebody, you would shut down, you would withdraw as a sort of protection mechanism. So these are all the ways in which control can manifest in our lives. And they're all very, very interesting. And we do need to look at what we're doing so that we can shine a light on what we're doing. Because if we have no awareness of what we're doing, how on earth can we change it? So understanding why we control is so important. So in essence, we try to control the outside so that we can feel more in control on the inside. I'll say that again. We try to control the outside so that we can feel more in control on the inside. But the irony is, the more you try to control, the less control you have, right? Because the more you try to control, the more you tighten, the more you contract, the more you stop everything that you want coming into you, the more you're going to create ailments and disease and dysfunction and anxiety. So actually, if you really want to be in control of your life and have what you want in your life, you have to learn to just let go and deal with what is presented. Sometimes we can't control anything. Sometimes you've got a massive public speaking gig and you wake up with a headache. Or you've got a massive public speaking gig and you can't sleep the night before when you really need to be fresh. Some things are out of our control. And we really need to learn to go with the flow, right? But we try to control in order to feel better, but it doesn't work, okay? So I just want to retract. The more you try to control, the less control you have. If you really want to be in control, you have to learn to let go, and you have to learn to let go by being in charge of yourself. Being in charge of yourself means learning to be easeful, learning to go with the flow. So there is a difference between being in control or controlling and being in charge of yourself. They're subtle, but there is a difference. So where does all of this come from? Well, as always, it comes from childhood programming, right? But it also comes from our culture. But that culture feeds into our childhood programming. Okay, so our governments, our systems, our economy, our politics, it feeds down into our cultural beliefs, which feed into the way that we are, which, you know, our parents were a certain way. Maybe our parents were controlling. Maybe we learnt that from our parents. Just going to retract a little bit here because I don't want to miss anything. Our culture, so capitalism, our culture is very much about being in control. So understanding that can help you, can also help you to shift it and change it. But I'm not an expert in politics, but I am an expert in childhood programming. So that's what we're going to talk about. So when you are between the ages of 1 and 7, you are in hypnosis. You are like a sponge. You would soak up everything. You learned everything from the adults around you. And whatever you have lived, that is what you have learnt. So why might someone learn to be controlling? Well, maybe one of your parents was very controlling and you simply learnt that through osmosis. That's what you observed, that's what you heard, and that is what you learnt. But maybe one of your parents didn't see you and didn't acknowledge the feeling part of you, didn't really give you time, didn't acknowledge your feelings, didn't give you the space to express yourself. Maybe you had loads of siblings and you were fighting for attention. And when we're kids and when we're not seen in a way that we really need to be seen and our emotions validated, we can then shut down because we feel innately wrong. Maybe a parent tried to fix us or soothe us with something, and maybe that felt like we were innately wrong for feeling a certain way. And so what happens is we shut that part of us down and decided that it would actually be better to try to achieve things, or to try to gain more accolades, or try to be better at certain things. And of course, so we shut the emotional part, but we got on with the kind of doing part. And the emotional part of you is the ease and flow part of you. It's the feminine qualities. And I don't mean that to be gender specific. The feminine qualities are watery, are fluid, are flowing, are ease and flow, making it up as you go along, improvising. And the masculine qualities are the sort of doing, achieving, accumulating, stockpiling, and controlling, basically. So if we were shut down, if the emotions were shut down, we would have naturally gone into that controlling aspect of ourselves. So that's one thing. Maybe you saw one of your parents really, really struggling, and maybe you felt so sorry for them, and maybe you just wanted to help them, and maybe the only way you felt that you could help them was by shutting a part of you down and being in control of yourself, or trying to control a sibling, or trying to control you being a good girl. Maybe you just were like, oh boy, maybe you just shut yourself down in order to be good, so that you didn't give your parents any more worry, any more concern. So when our parents are struggling and we're a child and we see them struggling, we want to fix them, but we can't because we're children. And then we end up with this feeling of helplessness. And this feeling of helplessness can make us feel out of control. And so we end up trying to control the external circumstances because we can't control the internal feeling of helplessness. So this is how it can manifest. And then what we can end up doing is taking this feeling, this underlying feeling of helplessness into our adult lives. We don't even realise we've got it half the time, and then we act out by trying to control everything. So that's kind of where it comes from. Okay, so what to do about it? You know what you do, you know what your habits are, you know where it's come from. What to do about it? Well, we have all got our own energetic vibration, okay? We have to take massive responsibility, step out of victimhood, and take charge. Be in charge of your charge, your energetic charge that runs through your body. We need to be in charge of it. The minute we start to manipulate or control others, or try to make others feel better, the more we give that charge away to them, or suck the charge out of them. This is what's known as like being an energy vampire. So you can't do anything about the way other people feel. You can only be in control of your own energetic charge, your own mindset, which of course affects your energetic charge. And that's all you can do. And when you're in charge of your charge, people will feel so calm, so relaxed around you. They will want to be around you. They will want to be inspired by you, or you will just naturally inspire them. Hey, Lisa Thomas, thank you for all the hearts. Yeah, so be in charge of your charge. So, step 1. We've done this. Identify what you are trying to control and differentiate between being controlling and being in charge of yourself. Step 2, find out why. Ask your mind to take you back to scenes in your life where you might have picked up the need to control. And if you're not sure about this of course is where the therapist comes in. I can help you with this. Step number 3, once you realize where it's come from, you have to let yourself off the hook, because often controlling people blame themselves, take on so much responsibility for other people. They feel it's just their responsibility all the time. And this can be just so burdensome for you. It's not your stuff. So you have to do a big wash. You know how you wash a piece of grit out of your eye? You have to wash other people's energy out of your system. You have to know that it's not your fault. How do we work on our energy? we work on our mental body, our thoughts, and we work on our physical body and our spiritual body as well. So you let yourself off the hook, you love yourself, you come back to yourself, you make a commitment to yourself to let go, to do things differently. Now, you've got to start getting, if you're a really controlling person, you have got to start getting, you've got to start getting comfortable with things being a bit messy, all right? I had to learn this. I was so meticulous when it came to my space being perfect. And I would have a right paddy in the morning when my partner was in bed and all I wanted to do was jump up and tidy up. That was my way of feeling in control first thing in the morning. And I had to really learn to allow things just to be a bit messy. And it was such a turning point for me because I've been able to then translate that into other areas of my life. So get comfortable with things being a bit out of control, being a bit messy. Get comfortable with looking like a bit of a tit, looking like a bit of a fool, right? Get comfortable with throwing caution to the wind. I really like to take inspiration from actors who do this. So when you are acting or when you watch an actor acting or practicing their craft, they're so in the zone, they're so in the moment, they're so like they don't give a flying monkeys, I wasn't going to swear there, they don't give a flying monkeys about looking stupid. And I love this. This is so freeing because it enables you to just let go. Thanks for the laughy faces. All right, so that was step 3, get comfortable being uncomfortable. Get comfortable being out of control. Step number 4, get creative. Find what it is that you like. Music, singing, the arts, improvisation, dancing, 5 rhythms, painting, poetry, performance poetry, run down the street, waving your arms and legs. Give me some more. So get creative. Practice things that require you to let go and get out of your habitual patterns, because habits are kind of created, right? They're like, habits are basically your neural pathways linking like this. One neuron attaches to another neuron, then you've got a habit, right? And that might be a habit that's kind of keeping you stuck, keeping you controlling, keeping you in a sort of cemented way of being. So what you want to do is practice stuff or get into habits that are different. So maybe drinking your coffee at a different coffee shop, walking down a different route, taking a different route in your car, just doing something different. What is it that you don't do on a daily basis? Maybe walking someone else's dog. Maybe I've just bought a snake. I've never had a snake in my life. I'm into fluffy things. Like, that is something totally different. What is totally different? Mix it up. Be flexible and mix it up. Because if you change nothing, nothing changes. Okay? So make feeling out of control familiar. Practice surviving, practice delegating, practice being a bit of an idiot, practice doing a Facebook Live, practice whatever. You let me know what you come up with there. Step number 5. Understand that you will never in a million years be able to please everybody, right? Trust that people will ask if they need anything. All right, you've got to honour that people have their own voices. Don't try to manipulate and control others because that's what you learned as a child. Maybe they had that in their own upbringing. Maybe they're trying to avoid that like the plague, and here you are manifesting their old childhood stuff. So let people be free to ask. Let people be free to stand up for themselves, to be confident. If they want a biscuit, let them ask for a biscuit. You don't have to mollycoddle. You don't have to wrap people up in cotton wool. You can just kick back, you can relax, and when you're more in tune with the ease and flow part of your life, you will be more intuitive. You'll be more in touch intuitively with what you think somebody might want. So rather than sort of trying to look for what other people might want or need, you'll get a gut feeling about that. Yes, practice letting people be who they are while you simply focus on yourself. If you're trying to change them while you've still got issues, you are totally missing the point. Always, always, always come back to self. Come back to you. What can you do to make yourself feel better? To make yourself be more in alignment with who you really are. Okay, and I just want to say a little something about parties. Have parties. People like to be involved. Get people round. You don't have to be the hostess for the mostess. Get people to bring a little bit of food. Get people to cook together. This could be your family as well. Get your husband, your wife, your kids. Get everyone involved. Be a leader. Be in charge. Guide, teach, support, but don't be that kind of horrible controlling matriarch or patriarch, or just like, coming down, autocrat, or coming down on somebody like, authoritatively in that sense. Lead by example. So, what else did I want to say? I've got here, change feels uncomfortable at times, and that is, this is my next point. See, I'm being really out of control today. I totally haven't done a proper script, but that's good. So, when we're going through the process of changing ourselves, it can feel a bit uncomfortable, and sometimes we don't know what we're doing. Sometimes we do need a little bit of support, and that's where I come in. So I'm a hypnotherapist. I'm actually a rapid transformational therapist, which is hypnotherapy with a difference. And I love working with people who need a little bit of extra help, a little bit of extra support. I will give away free stuff all the time, but if you do need a little bit of extra help, then let me help you, especially if you're the kind of person who likes to be in control of doing it all yourself. Maybe you'd like to be in control of your finances and you don't want to let go of the money, or you don't want to invest the money in yourself. Maybe you don't feel like you deserve it, but let someone help you. So if your boiler broke down, you would get a plumber in, wouldn't you, to help you fix that boiler. You wouldn't try to work it all out yourself. There are some things you can do, of course. You can Google some things and you can work some of it out yourself. But having the aid of a great therapist, counsellor or coach is really good for you, because human beings love other human beings. We need to feel connected. We need to feel like we belong. We need to feel supported by other people. It shortcuts the process, believe me. Okay, so RTT might be the therapy for you. It can be done brilliantly via Zoom, or it can be done in person with me in Brighton. It's a 2-hour process. The benefits are you're going to get super, super clear on what caused it. The root, we're going to pull that root out, because if you don't pull the root out, the weed will keep on growing. You're going to get clarity. You are going to feel that ease and flow. You're going to let go. You're going to let yourself off the hook. You're going to understand why it's not your fault that you are controlling. And then you're going to get to really be in charge of your charge. So RTT is a kind of hybrid therapy. It's a bit like psychotherapy, but it's also positive suggestion therapy as well. So it's definitely rapid. I am getting some phenomenal results with it at the moment. I can't even tell you, I want to share so much about that, but I can't, because some of my client stuff is confidential. But yeah, just know that it's a great therapy. And you also get more than the therapy with me. You get access to all my resources. You get access to me via WhatsApp. You also get 2 coaching sessions afterwards to make sure that you're staying in alignment, make sure you're on track. And that's absolutely essential also for reflecting on how far you've come, because sometimes you will have changed, but you can't see that you've changed until you have that conversation with somebody who knows and who can ask you really specific questions about how you dealt with specific situations with your new mindset. So if you feel it's ready, if you feel it's time for you, please drop me a line, send me an email, info@sallygarozzo.com, or send me a direct message through Facebook. I am also really active on Instagram. I have lots of interactive Insta stories. I go live on Instagram with little nuggets of wisdom. So that's it. I'd love to hear from you, to let me know what worked, let me know what didn't work. And if you feel like having a consultation with me, you are more than welcome to do that. Drop me a direct message. I can send you a link, or you can go onto my website, which is sallygarozzo.com, and there's a link to book your consultation there. It's £30 for a 45-minute consultation, and the price of the consultation is redeemable against any other investment that you make with me. So that is all for now. Remember how flipping awesome you are. Remember how amazing you are. Remember that you are good enough. You don't need to control. Let it go and watch the magic unfold. All right, have a great Monday, and I'll see you next week. Bye.